Thanks for sharing. So what changed after you understood your brain, after you have the acceptance of your new identity? Maybe you go first?
Uh, I I start to look at like what Crystal just now mentioned. She mentioned just now. I start to look at if I have gotten my diagnosis earlier, then what will change? Then one thing that I feel very how to say I don't know how to describe that feeling. I feel very furious is if I know about my diagnosis, because if let's say I have the diagnosis during secondary school, right? I am considered as special needs student, right? So I may be able to get the privilege, like for example, I can take my exam in a quarantine room. So that will be something that actually is the first thing that comes to my mind. You know why? Because when I took my exam during secondary school, because I was in a big secondary school with a lot of students taking the exam in the hall. So when I took my exam, I actually, for almost every time when I sit for my exam, I have palpitation at that point of time. So I feel very, I feel struggling, but I thought that everyone will face the same thing. I thought everyone faced the same thing. So I didn't raise this issue to my mother. But literally, I had palpitation during the exam. And at that point of time, when I first experienced this palpitation, of course, I was very anxious and I was very scared. But then after that, I feel, oh, I'm not dying yet. I do not die yet. So it won't be something that make me die. Okay, so when the second time I experience it, I try to go and feel it. Then the third time, the fourth time, yes, it comes, but I feel like, oh, I get used to it already. I think it's quite funny to think about it. I mean, to recall it now. But if let's say I would have gotten the diagnosis, I might be able to, avoid this, right? By sitting exam in the quarantine room. So with all these kind of thoughts, right, I started to use a different lens, use the neurodivergent lens to actually view myself uh, over all the past experience I have. So I actually use the lens to see, if I know that I am on the spectrum, then how would it be? And so on. So I took a very long time to view all this my experience again. And then all this experience and recall, right, actually make me know what to do next when I face difficulty. So as at now, what changed is that I know myself better, I know my needs better, and I know how to voice out better. I wouldn't say that whatever I voice out definitely will be, accommodate. Definitely people will accommodate it. I wouldn't say like this, but then at least I fight for myself. That is something that I think it changed.
Yeah, I see. I think, yeah, indeed, it's very important to voice out, or else other people might not know you are having this condition. About
Mm.
Crystal, what changed after you understood your brain better?
The turning point for me came when I stopped trying to fix the glitch and started building workarounds, very much like what she has shared. It's me stop fighting the brain I have and start working with it. So I found specific ways to bypass that mental constipation, thankfully. For me, that meant changing my environment, breaking tasks down into tiny, non-scary steps, or just giving myself plenty of room to choose the task to work on rather than being rigid with my schedule. I've learned that it's best to make things flexible to me. So that is my way of working with my brain. But the biggest change was internal. I changed the way I spoke to myself. I stopped the shame spiral and shifting my focus from clinical labels, as mentioned just now, the word disorder, deficit, or whatever labelings that's out there, shift from this to practical strategies. So I've been doing a lot of reading, researching, experimenting, testing, It's a lifelong journey for sure. I'm still learning every day, but I've finally moved from a state of just surviving the day to actually thriving in my life and my work.
I see. It's indeed a very encouraging sharing that you mentioned from survival perspective into thriving modes. So what's your advice to people who encounter the same symptoms as you, Crystal?
If you're feeling that same mental constipation or frustration, my advice is it's quite impossible to build healthy strategies if you don't know what you're dealing with. So don't be afraid to seek professional help to understand your brain's unique wiring. Once you know the why you can't start a task, why you hyperfocus, why you feel overwhelmed, why you struggle with self-care, you can stop forcing yourself to follow generic self-help advice. Because if you're like me, those generic 10 tips for productivity will just make you feel worse and defeated because they weren't built for brains like ours. Seek the why first, then experiment with workarounds that actually fit you.
All right, thanks for the sharing. What about Shi? What's your advice to people who encounter the same symptom as you?
Um, I would like to highlight something is like no matter what kind of symptoms you have, um no matter what kind of so-called diagnosis we get, I think we all face the same not exactly issue, but we always have this same question among all neurodivergent individuals, I believe so, which is you grow up feeling you are different with others. You are different from others. So it's like you are not the same as others. Whatever others can do, it seems like I cannot do. Or I will face some struggle or I'll face some difficulties in achieving that same thing. So I think a lot of neurodivergent individuals eventually seek for medical help or eventually go to the psychiatrist is because of this feeling. It's that you growing up feeling that, oh, I do not belong to this world. Or my reaction is different from others, or how I look at things is different from others, and others cannot understand me, and I cannot understand others. So I would say that if let's say anyone face this kind of feeling, and it has been long time without any answer so far, I think it is time to look further into the possibility of you may be on the spectrum, no matter which neurodivergence trait it is or which diagnosis it is. But maybe some of them will be able to give you some answer and help you to understand yourself better.
So coming to the last question, would you both want other people who are neurotypical to support the journey of neurodivergent people like you? Maybe Crystal, can you go first?
Okay, for the neurotypical people listening, I don't really expect you to fully understand or empathize with what it's like to have an ADHD brain, because honestly, you probably can't. But I always go back to something my mom said that felt really profound to me. She said, we don't have to have been through similar experiences to be kind or thoughtful. Those words really changed my perspective. Support is not about perfect empathy or perfectly feeling what I feel. It's about choosing to be kind, staying open-minded, and respecting our differences. Kindness is a choice that anyone can make, and that's what truly makes the world accessible for people like she and me.
Very powerful words, choosing to be kind. What about Shi, you?
Um, I think for neurotypical, I would not only neurotypical, I mean, particularly neurotypical because neurotypical has been you know uh living the world using the typical way. So it is like the way that most people actually use to live in the typical world. So perhaps towards a certain extent, maybe they forget that there are a variety of individuals. So particularly to neurotypical, but actually applicable to everyone as well, I would just like to highlight that always remember that every individual will be different. So it means there's a variety of, you know, variety of characteristics, variety of traits, variety of so-called neurodiversity. There's a neurodiversity in this world. So always remember that every individual will be different, and then we will use different lens to actually look at people. Because if let's say we expect everyone react the same as how I react, then we will look at different reaction using a negative perspective, which is not something helpful to the neurodivergence community. But if let's say we can remember that every individual is different, then when we meet an individual, we know that he is different and he is himself, then we will take the approach to understand him as an individual. So I think that would help neurodivergence to voice themselves, right? To allow them to get people to understand them better. I would say like this. So if let's say everyone in this world can treat people, can treat each individual differently, try to understand everyone, then I think there will be not much gap and issue between neurotypical or neurodivergence. That's my thought.
Thank you so much for the sharing for both of you. I believe we have a very fruitful discussion and we understand neurodivergent better. Thank you so much once again for sharing with us. Thanks, Crystal and Shi.